Hey guys, Hetu this side, and we are discussing ETL testing managerial round interview questions and answer. So we have already done one video previously. I'll put the link in the I button of this particular video so you can go and watch it. For now, for today, we are going to take a 5 different interview questions which are generally asked in this managerial round. Yeah. So let's take a look at it and then we will look at each of these question and try to see what is the probable answer that we have to do. Okay. Now, first question, you successfully completed all test cases, but the client is still report data mismatches. What would you do next? Yeah. Second question, a senior stakeholder asks you to last minute change in the data logic. How would you approach? Number three, in data migration project, how would you ensure data transferred from source to target is correctly done? And this is very, very, very famous question, guys, because in any interview, people will ask about it. How do you ensure that the source and target the data transfer correctly, right? Now, the fourth question, client reported duplicate records in their report. How would you approach to handle this? Again, very excellent question now. Now, the number five, you are witnessing a sudden spike in load time of your ETL pipeline. How would you identify the root cause and fix it? This is the importance. I mean, they want to check how do you approach for this load testing kind of scenario, right? Because this is a very, very uh, I would say obvious situation when you witness in any kind of ETL scenario where you will see a lot of issue with your loading, basically the entire pipelining of ETL. Yeah. Now, guys, let's look at each of this question and try to understand how do we approach. You assume that these are the questions that are actually asked to you in the interview and they are going to decide the fate in your interview. All right. So I mean, you can pause this video and try to frame your question, how would you approach it, and then actually look at the answer that I'm going to provide it here. All right. So let's go to the first one. You successfully completed all test cases, which means from your testing side, you completed successfully all the planned test cases, but client still report data mismatch. Yes. So what you have to do, the first thing, what you have to do, you have to take it very, very positively. This feedback, right, from the client or the defect reporting from the client, you have to take it in very, very positive manner. So ask for a specific example of mismatch. You can request them, please provide some specific example where you see this kind of problem, right? In that case, you have to be approach very positively, stay calm and collaborative, right? You should not say that somebody is actually pinpointing your defect, right? No, it's not like that. You have to basically take it in very positive manner and be in a proper, acceptance mode. Like whatever client is telling, just try to analyze it. Basically, get more and more information, right? And then second thing, what you do, you cross check the environment, right? There could be, because the clients generally will be testing into UAT environment. They will not be testing into dev or test environment. There is just dedicated environment for them, or pre-prod or UAT environment generally, right? User acceptance test environment. That's where they do all these checks, right? So what you have to check, whether the data that they are seeing, is it out of sync? Like the data that you have tested in test environment, was that like is that same data or some different data? Yeah. Second thing, right? Because it is also possibility that there might be some junk data which is already there in the environment and client is not aware, like they have to test this, right? So make sure that you check that environment. Now, number three, you go and validate client expectation. Or let us say you find that this seems to be a problem, right? And then you go and check whether the requirement that is captured, right, um, in the mapping document probably, is that requirement is as per client expectation or not. You have to get it clarified with them. Yeah, so that's the thing. Make sure that the requirement that was captured initially was not wrong. Yeah. Now, number four, verify logs and history. You can always go and check the history, like is there any feed that reran, because you actually obviously set up some environment and given it to UAT team, right? maybe your development team or DBA team, whoever is giving, and then you make sure that there is no, I mean, once they are set up, obviously that is the good environment they will be giving, but make sure there is no further history or there is no trigger that has been done after that. Like some feed might have rerun and all those things, because of that the data got corrupted, right? Now, the last point is what you do if you find that everything is fine, but there is some problem with the logic that we have not implemented and it was like a wrong requirement that was captured. In that case, you go and what you do, because you are a Q engineer, what you will do, you will go and test your I mean update the test cases whatever you have done, right? So based on the current behavior or the new expectation, you go and update your test cases. It is automation test cases, then go and update the automation test logic as well, and then close the gap. This is what basically you have to do. And if you can tell all these 5 points, this is the excellent example, excellent answer to deal with this kind of situation. Okay, now let's look at the second question, guys. Second question is, a senior stakeholder asked you a last minute change in the data logic. How would you approach? Let's say some really very senior stakeholders, let's say sponsor or maybe something, some direct customer who is having very high influence, right? Very, very senior stakeholder, maybe asking for a last minute logic change. Says that because they are not aware of the production logic, how it works and the technicality, because they are mostly from the business side, right? So they don't actually care how do you do that. But let's say in case if they are asking because they ultimately need the correct data, isn't it? How do you approach it? Because you also have to be very, very safe from your side as well, right? Because you can't just do the changes on the fly, right? That's why, how do you approach? The number one, what you do, perform the impact analysis. Just check that because of these changes, is there any impact on my upstream or downstream system? Upstream is basically from where you are fetching the data, and the downstream where you are actually transmitting or sending the data basically, right? Now, does it involve any structural changes? For example, the table column changes or the data type changes in the table, or table changes completely, or it just a small logic change probably. Maybe logic change is like not a very significant because you are okay with that. But when it comes to structural changes like having extra column or having removing some columns or data type change, these are very, very big changes, right? So you just make sure what is this changes. So we have to do the perform the impact analysis first, and also quantify the severity of the impact. Let us say because of these changes, how the impact could be. If something goes wrong, let's say while doing the changes, how big the uh, impact could be, how much is the quantitative measurement of the loss can be. Let's say your application impact on the application, number of people might get impacted based on the impact, right? That. So first thing, you will basically do the performance impact analysis or impact assessment. Second, proposal to the alternate solution. Let us say they are actually saying that okay, we really need this, so you can't do anything about it. What you have to tell, because you have done already impact analysis, you will say explain the risk. You have to explain the risk based on your analysis, quantification of the severity. Then you also have to understand what is the urgency of doing it. Is it right now we have to do, or we can actually wait for a couple of months and do it? That also you have to understand, and then propose alternative solution if required. And then if you don't want to do this, you can actually propose something that can actually solve their problems right now, but like a short-term fix, right? Let's say tactical fix, and that can not that will avoid a big impact, right? Those kind of things, alternative solution, you can actually say them. And then third thing, right, implement the change. If let's say they say that no, we still want a strategic or the full the what do you say, the permanent solution, then you go and change this thing in the non-production environment. For example, development environment, we will be going and changing it. Then testing will happen in the test environment with new test scenario and the automated regression pack. You also have to make sure, right, once you change it, it is not going to impact other functionality of my ETL behavior, isn't it? And then ask finally, once you are done with the testing, let's say you are happy with it, including the regression pack, regression testing, you must ask your client to do a round of test in UAT environment so that they are also happy and you also are 100% sure that nothing is breaking, right? And if everything is done in the non-production environment, then you promote the changes to the production environment. This is what you have to do. And once you promote the changes in the production environment, you also have to make sure you do one round of test after the production deployment, basically. Yeah. If there is any failure or any suspicious thing that you see in the production environment, you should be ready with the rollback script. You should be able to roll back the entire changes immediately so that your business is not getting any impact because of this, right? So you have to be ready with. Now, the last thing what you do once, let's say production went fine, everything looks fine. Now, your job is not full, your job is not done. You also need to make sure there is a production support engineer. They are also working hand on hand with you, and they are aware of this change, and they keep a monitor on this particular data for couple of days. Let's say weekly or monthly. Let's say month job will be there, or weekly job will be there, daily job. So all this kind of one complete cycle they have to keep a watch, that how the behavior is happening for this change, right? So this is how actually you can approach. Now let's look at the third question, guys. In a data migration project, how would you ensure data transfer from source to target is correctly? Guys, this is actually specifically the data migration project I'm talking about it. Now, there are three stages where you have got the responsibility and you have to do certain activities here, right? Pre-migration. So before even you migrate, what you have to do, you have to understand the requirement as per the mapping document, isn't it? You understand what kind of migration is required, how much data you have to migrate, which all the tables are impacted, scope analysis basically, and out of scope as well, right? Now, second, analyze the prepared test cases, analyze and prepare test cases scenario to capture expected result, guys. Okay, so you have to basically go and write some test cases, and based on various scenarios and based on the mapping document, right? Third, set up appropriate test data for performing the test, isn't it? Because you have to be ready once the migration is done, you have to be ready for the testing. So all these things you have to basically do in the pre-migration. Now, second, you have the migration stage, right? During the migration, when let's say migration started by the development team and DBA team, what you are going to do? You are going to analyze unit test result, and these unit test results are basically coming out of the development uh, environment or by developers, right? They will be doing this test. You can actually analyze the result and support the dev team for any kind of investigation, because they might also face certain defects, etc., in the during the migration. So you are going to actually work with them and support them. By doing this, you also develop your knowledge around the migration strategy and migration data requirement. Yes. Now, number three, which is the post migration. After migration, everything is done. Let's say you already migrated the data. This is the time when you do a full-fledged testing from the QA point of view. So what are the things you are going to do? You are going to perform the field level validation using the SQL query. Yeah, this actually manual testing that you are going to perform, ETL testing, right? Now, what are the kind of checks you are going to do? Validate checks like record counts, schema validation, checksums, etc. There are a lot many, right? Minus checks and data integrity check, etc. All of these things you are going to do here manually. And if you also have, let us say, some sort of automation suite, right? And regression testing is already there. You make sure that you are running those regression pack and ensure that because of this migration, there is no issue with the previously working functionality basically. So you actually check the impact because of these changes. Now add a new script to existing automation. Once you are done, you will actually write some test cases and include as part of your existing automation pack framework, so that that can be a part of your regression pack for the future testing. Yeah. So these are the three things that we are going to do, and involvement of QA in these three stages. Yeah. Now, number four, client reported clients reported duplicate record in their report. How would you approach to handle this? Guys, simple, right? If they actually say that there is a duplicate in their report, this is really some serious issue, because we should not be having the duplicate. This could cause the failure in the downstream as well. Now, what you will do, you actually perform a RCA, root cause analysis. Like, first thing, you go and check, was there any recent changes done in the production environment? Yeah, because the client will only consume the production data, right? So that's kind of things. You go and check with the development environment, development team or production support team that was there any recent changes done in the environment, right? Or did any job that ran twice or thrice due to retry logic or manual run? Was there any problem with this? So this you can check with your production support team. They are well aware of all the changes and any things because they keep monitoring all these jobs at every time, right? So they will be able to tell you these things, right? So this is basically performing the root cause, why this happened basically, right? Now, second thing is once you find that this is happening because of XYZ reason, you also check, do we have the exact match of the duplicate? Like you say that entire row is duplicated, or is this only partial fields are duplicated, right? Only few fields are duplicated. And based on that, this is called a pattern analysis. Yes. Now, number three, you implement the tactical fix, short-term fix. What you do, you basically use a very short-term tactical fix using distinct row number, where you can actually filter out all those duplicates record in the production, right? And then number four, which is actually last, implement strategic fix. So what you do, once you are able to actually handle this in short term, you can also look for a strategic implementation that should take care of the long term solution of this particular duplication issue. And what you have to do, you have to build a proper, I mean, obviously with the help of your development team, proper deduplication logic and locks probably need to be implemented so that it does not happen in the future. Yeah. So this is number four. Let's look at the number five. This is the question number five. You are witnessing a sudden spike in load time of your ETL pipeline. How do you identify root cause and fix it? Guys, this is very important question because they really want to understand how do you go about it, right? I mean, you see that there is a lot of time. One particular ETL pipeline is taking, let's say, earlier it was taking, let's say, 1 hour to load. Now it's taking 4 to 5 hours of loading the data, right? Obviously, you are breaching the SLA, everything. So it's important from QA side of it. How do you check it? First thing, check pipeline logs and monitoring tool. So you go and ask your production support team because they manage entire pipelining and monitoring tool on the and they also handle any failure, etc. Right? So ask them, verify the pipeline log for any potential blocker. Number two, you also additionally check the monitoring tool like Airflow, CloudWatch, etc. These are the monitoring tool which will actually check the extraction, transformation, and loading. How does it happen on the real time, basically, right? So check how uh, where exactly it is delayed, whether at the extraction, transformation, or loading. Based on that, you know if it is extraction problem, then there could be a lot of things. For example, let's say there is a lot of time while extracting the data. You can see that, okay, from where we are getting the data, let's say source, right? We are using some mechanism, for example, APIs or maybe direct SQL query, etc. See that, is there any problem at the source itself? Is there lot of data, or maybe the connectors are not correct, or connectors are taking a lot of time? There is some performance bottleneck there, right? Now, transformation, if you check, probably it's mostly to do with a huge amount of data, lot of aggregations you are doing, or maybe joinings are doing. That will take basically a lot of time because it really needs a lot of CPU, right? Or loading part, see that whether your loading target systems is all good, right? Where we have the indexes, we are dropping the indexes, we are loading, all those kind of scenario, you have to check it basically, right? That's part of your performance monitoring, right? And then number two, what you do, compare previous successful run. This is the best way to compare it, isn't it? Because last time how much time it took, and this time how much time it is taking. Was this time significantly increased? Yes. If yes, then check that why it has been done. Was there any logic change in the recent release, etc.? All of these things you can actually check it in regards to previous successful run, right? Now, number three, verify upstream system, external system, because you also need to check my upstream is fine or not, because there could be systems like API, isn't it? API, databases, cloud providers. Is there any problem there itself, right? Because there could be possibility that you are not able to extract the data in much faster way, isn't it? So all those things, external systems, you have to take care. Now, implement tactical fix. If that is there and something is there, then what you do, you basically do this like loading at least, do it for the first time, right? So process using parallel processing or skip some unnecessarily processing. This is what the tactical fix you are doing, but for the long term you have to implement the long term solution, right? That's called strategic fix, right? For that, implement strategic solution by applying indexing, partitioning, and all. These are actually performance booster, right? So you have to take care of this. That's all, guys. All of these things I wanted to talk about today is about these 5 questions. And trust me, if you are good with these questions, I think this is one of the amazing thing that you can actually do, right? So do watch this video again and again and again. You will get a different view every time when you watch it, right? And also, as I said, previous video that I have done it on the managerial round of questions, right? The first one I will be putting into maybe in the description or I button. Just check in the I button. That should be fine. Yeah. So I'll be doing there. So yeah, I'll see you soon with another video. Until then, happy learning. God bless you. Bye.